So you gave it a thought? No. So when the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve, that curve shifts to right, means higher partial pressures of oxygen are required for the hemoglobin to bind to oxygen. That means the affinity of hemoglobin to oxygen decreases when there is increase in temperature, increase in carbon dioxide, decrease in pH, increase in 2,3-DPG. Similarly, opposite occurs. So the best index for this comparison is P50. What is this P50? The definition of P50 is the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood at which 50% of hemoglobin is saturated. Okay, always remember it is the amount of hemoglobin saturated, that is 50%. It is not the 50 mm partial pressure of oxygen. It is the partial pressure of oxygen at which 50% of hemoglobin is saturated. So if the P50 values increases, the affinity for hemoglobin to oxygen is reduced. That we will analyze here. So what is P50? It is not this 50 mm partial pressure. Always remember, don't commit this mistake in your examination. This is not the 50 mm partial pressure of oxygen. It is the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood at which 50% of the hemoglobin is saturated with oxygen. That means 50% of your entire blood hemoglobin is bound to oxygen. So normally in our blood, it is around 27 millimeters of mercury. So at 27 millimeters of partial pressure of oxygen, almost 50% of the blood is bound to hemoglobin is bound to oxygen levels. So if the P50 shifts to right, means higher partial pressures are required to achieve this 50% hemoglobin saturation. If P50 shifts to left, that means at lower partial pressure of oxygen only, hemoglobin is binding easily to the oxygen. That means when higher P50 values indicate what? Reduced affinity for hemoglobin to oxygen. Lower P50 values indicate what? Increased affinity for hemoglobin to oxygen. Where you see higher P50 values, whatever the causes that shifts the curve to right. So that is, you can see this is normal P50, somewhere around 27 millimeters of mercury. So when there is increased hydrogen ion or is reduced pH, increased carbon dioxide, increase in temperature, increase in 2,3-DPG values, the affinity for hemoglobin to oxygen is less. That means more partial pressures of oxygen are required to saturate 50% hemoglobin. So the oxygen partial pressure required is higher than the normal values. But same thing happens when the shift is towards left. Lower partial pressures are required to saturate the hemoglobin. That means hemoglobin affinity for oxygen increases. Whatever might be the condition, finally the hemoglobin saturation is dictated by the oxygen partial pressure. In all these three curves, one thing is common, that is the partial pressure of oxygen increases in blood, hemoglobin saturation increases, right? But this change in conditions will shift the curve to right or left, giving an extra advantage, extra advantage at lungs and extra disadvantage at tissues. Now, so what happens in tissues? Tissues partial pressure of carbon dioxide is high, 46 millimeters of mercury. In tissue, because of metabolic processes, local temperature increases. 2,3-DPG levels increase in RBC once they reach tissues. Because of the metabolic process, acidity at the tissues increases, especially accumulation of lactic acid, pyruvic acid also increases H+. That means there is fall in pH near the tissues. So this shift to right, where you see near tissues. What this does at tissues, this lowers the hemoglobin affinity for oxygen. That means hemoglobin easily leaves oxygen at tissues. Where the shift occurs to left in the lungs where partial pressure of carbon dioxide is less, especially in the alveoli it is 40. Temperature is less compared to tissues. 2,3 DPG levels are less. H plus ions levels are less. So at the lungs, even at the lowest partial pressure, the hemoglobin affinity to oxygen increases. That means binding accelerates at the lungs, binding decelerates at the tissues. Whatever might be the area, normal blood, at tissues, at lungs, for increase in partial pressure of oxygen, hemoglobin binding to oxygen increases. What is Bohr's effect? So the decrease in oxygen affinity for hemoglobin when the pH of blood falls, or else PCO2 of the blood increases, is known as Bohr's effect. So this occurs because compared to oxygenated hemoglobin, that means hemoglobin bound to oxygen. I use the term oxygenation, not oxidation, right? Hemoglobin is bound reversibly to oxygen. These are normal, these are not ionic bonds. It is not oxidation, it is oxygenation. Compared to oxyhemoglobin, deoxyhemoglobin has high affinity for H plus binding. So where you find high H plus values near the tissue because of metabolism, accumulation of acid occurs at the tissue. Okay, if tissue performs only glycolysis, there is increase in pyruvic acid or lactic acid in the tissues, right? H plus levels increases. So deoxyhemoglobin will have more affinity for H plus. So at the tissues, Bohr's effect, because of the Bohr's effect, unloading of oxygen occurs. Bohr's effect is responsible for unloading of oxygen at the tissues. Okay, remember this sentence. Because of the Bohr's effect, the hemoglobin to affinity of oxygen decreases. Why? pH decreases, that means acidity increases because of the increase in PCO2 and increase in H plus concentration. The reduction in the oxygen affinity unloads the oxygen from hemoglobin. So oxygen is supplied to the tissues. So pH of the blood is reflected mainly by the CO2 content. So PCO2 rises or pH falls, the curve shifts towards the right. P50 increases. That means higher partial pressures of oxygen are required to saturate the hemoglobin, or else hemoglobin affinity to oxygen decreases. So normally the unloading of oxygen depends on the partial pressure of oxygen. So at tissues, partial pressure of oxygen is 40. In arterial blood, it is 95. So at this 40, first because of the high diffusion gradient, diffusion wants to pull the oxygen from the hemoglobin, and because of the low partial pressure of oxygen, hemoglobin unloads the oxygen at tissue, but an extra 1 to 2% push towards the right side is given by this increased PCO2 levels at the tissue. So even at tissues, because of the, what is the partial pressure of oxygen? 40. So from 100 to 40, the oxygen will be removed from the hemoglobin. Okay, concentrate on the central curve. So from 100 to 40, partial pressure of oxygen in arterial blood is 95. From here to here, 40, unloading of oxygen occurs at the tissues. But because of these additional factors, there is further push towards the right, where the hemoglobin affinity decreases, increasing more unloading of oxygen. Finally, what is the purpose of this loading and unloading? Oxygen has to be released at the tissues, right? Condition should favor dissociation of oxygen from hemoglobin, and oxygen should enter immediately because of the high partial pressure gradients at the tissues, right? These are the factors that gives an extra edge for the unloading of oxygen. Similarly, the factors opposite to these gives an extra edge for loading of oxygen at lungs. Loading of oxygen at lungs. So 2,3 DPG is present mainly in the RBC. Your RBC does not have mitochondria. So the only metabolic pathway is glycolysis, right? You know this. So via Embden-Meyerhof pathway, this 2,3-DPG is the important metabolite produced in your RBC. So this has high affinity. Once this 2,3-DPG is formed, what it will does is it displaces the oxygen from the hemoglobin and it binds to the hemoglobin, especially beta chains. Once this 2,3-DPG binds to beta chain of the hemoglobin, oxygen will be removed from the ferrous atom, ferrous ion. So if the 2,3-DPG levels increase, which occurs in the tissues, by the time RBC reaches the tissue, this 2,3-DPG levels in the RBC increases. Oxygen unloading occurs at the tissues. So thyroid hormone, growth hormone, androgens, all these structures increases the concentration of 2,3-DPG and increases P50. So these also favor the unloading of oxygen at tissues, right? You can say that thyroid hormones increases metabolic rate, growth hormone, androgens, these are hypermetabolic, right? They increase your metabolic rate. So they have thermogenic action, they have dissociation action. So thyroid hormone increases your basal metabolic rate, right? It accelerates everything. It also accelerates. When it is accelerating everything, processes, it also accelerates the increase in 2,3-DPG and also unloading of the oxygen at tissues. Exercise increases 2,3-DPG to very high levels, but trained athletes, their training increases this, this training improves the cope up with 2,3-DPG. That means they may not increase the 2,3-DPG much. So trained athletes, how they are differed from untrained athletes is they increase their cardiac output by increasing stroke volume, whereas untrained athletes, they increase cardiac output mainly by increasing heart rate. Similarly, trained athletes increase their depth of respiration, especially alveolar ventilation, compared to rate of respiration, which occurs in untrained athletes. At the same time, the rise of 2,3-DPG during exercise in trained athletes is very less. So their body is, as you, what are trained athletes, as you start training aerobic exercise like walking, running, sprinting, in these conditions, you increase your stroke volume, depth of respiration, and not much increase in 2,3-DPG, overall increasing your performance. Okay. So there is another hemoglobin, type of hemoglobin present in our skeletal muscle known as myoglobin. It has highest binding capacity of oxygen. It has highest affinity towards oxygen. So the curve of myoglobin oxygen dissociation is towards the left of the hemoglobin. So this black line is for the hemoglobin and this is for myoglobin, and this blue line is also for your fetal hemoglobin. So compared to your adult hemoglobin, myoglobin and fetal hemoglobin has high affinity for oxygen. So even at the lowest partial pressures of oxygen, the oxygen saturation of hemoglobin is very high. You can see it is extremely steep increase, and even by the time partial pressure of oxygen reaches 20 mm, almost hemoglobin is saturated. Almost, sorry, myoglobin or fetal hemoglobin will be saturated. This is very, very important for oxygen extraction, right? What is the function of myoglobin? It binds to oxygen and releases oxygen during your muscle metabolism, especially when you are exercising, your muscle needs more and more oxygen. Myoglobin releases oxygen during this metabolism. Which type of muscle fibers it is? More red muscle fibers, also known as type 1 muscle fibers, right? Fast, slow, type 1 oxidative muscle fibers. This myoglobin is present, and it's, you can see the affinity of this myoglobin to oxygen is highest compared to your normal hemoglobin. Same curve goes for your fetal hemoglobin. because of the lowest oxygen partial pressures initially in the blood, especially when it is getting oxygen supply from your placenta. If you remember fetal circulation, fetus draws oxygen from the placenta, where the partial pressure of oxygen will not reach more than 55 millimeters, okay, in the placental blood, especially from the umbilical vein, right? Umbilical vein, when the fetus is receiving the blood, there the partial pressure is 55 mm. And also in fetus, there is various admixture of venous blood because of your open atrial septum, ventricular septum, because of the, septa are open still, and there is, ductus arteriosus, ductus venosus. Even in the systemic arterial blood of fetus, the partial pressure of oxygen is very less. Because of, but fetal hemoglobin has highest oxygen binding capacity. Even at those low partial pressure, it is fully bound to the oxygen. And once it goes to the tissues, when the oxygen partial pressure falls, it will leave the oxygen. So in fetus also, because of the high metabolic rate of tissues, what happens? Because fetus growth is more, cell division is more, metabolism is more. So in your body, adults, the tissue oxygen partial pressure is 40, whereas in fetus it may fall up to 10, 20 also. So the fetal hemoglobin is set according to the fetal metabolic rate and fetal oxygen consumption. When you compare it with adult hemoglobin, both myoglobin and fetal hemoglobin has highest oxygen affinity. Why myoglobin requires highest oxygen affinity? This skeletal muscle, whenever it gets blood, it will suck the oxygen from the blood, store it with it only during extremely required conditions like prolonged standing, where your type 1 muscle fibers work continuously, your anti-gravity muscle fibers continuously, and your skeletal muscle partial pressures drop extremely high, especially during severe exercises. This myoglobin then releases the stored oxygen. But we are done with this. Okay, go through the PPT and your textbook. Thank you.